Um, what if the most important garment in your closet, the one that completely dictates your presence, your posture, and just how you're perceived, makes up like less than 5% of your total outfit?
That is a wild concept to think about.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you might be standing there in the morning staring at this sea of neutral clothes
Oh,
and just feeling totally uninspired.
I mean, we've all been there, just staring at the rack.
Exactly. And the instinct is usually to just overhaul everything, like buy a whole new wardrobe, reinvent your entire aesthetic. But today, we're decoding why a total upgrade doesn't actually require a new closet. It really just requires you to look down.
Yeah, because we so often build our wardrobes around, safety and utility. We
Mhm.
have that rack of reliable black dresses, the tailored white trousers, beige knits.
The trusty uniform.
Right, the uniform. And it makes practical sense for getting out the door quickly, but a uniform, by definition, lacks dynamic personal style. It's safe.
It's very safe. So today, we are diving into a really comprehensive fashion guide from Apparelizer. It's titled Statement Heels: How to Make Your Shoes the Star of the Show.
It's a great read.
It really is. And the core mission of this deep dive is to deconstruct the actual mechanics of what they call shoe-first styling. We want to explore how shifting the visual focal point of an outfit all the way down to your footwear completely transforms not just your look, but your actual physical presence in a room.
Which is such a powerful tool.
Totally. So, okay, let's unpack this because the Apparelizer Guide makes a rather bold claim right up front. They argue that throwing on a bright shoe isn't just some careless afterthought. It's this highly engineered styling strategy designed to, well, interrupt the environment.
Yeah, the source material makes a very clear distinction here. This isn't just some fleeting aesthetic trend on TikTok. It's a broader cultural shift in how people actually negotiate their identity.
Wait, really? Identity?
Yeah, I mean, we're moving away from this era of strict uniform minimalism. People are really craving bold self-expression, but they demand efficiency at the same time.
Right. Nobody has 2 hours to get dressed.
Exactly. They want maximum visual impact without the high friction of completely reinventing themselves every single morning. And the statement heel, it just solves that equation perfectly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the guide assumes a certain level of fashion fluency from the reader, so we probably don't need to sit here and strictly define what a sculptural heel is or like what a crystal-embellished pump looks like.
Right. I think we all have a visual for
Yeah, we
this.
know them when we see them. But what is genuinely compelling is why these designs actually work. Because a statement heel operates on this principle of visual disruption,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's an aggressive neon colorway or maybe a geometric block heel that defies standard physics or a really heavy metallic finish. It's footwear explicitly designed to break the expected visual pattern of an outfit.
It makes me think of a band.
A band. Okay, I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the statement heel is the lead singer. It's loud. It's out front. It commands the stage. And the rest of the outfit. Those are just the backup singers. They need to support the lead, not compete with them.
That is a brilliant analogy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you really have to look at the economy of attention.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, the guide points to highly visual social platforms, Instagram, Pinterest, things like that, as the primary drivers of this whole shift. Because in a digital landscape, or even in a physical one, you only have fractions of a second to capture someone's gaze.
Just a quick scroll or a glance across the room.
Right. And a visually complex, striking shoe does that instantly. It acts as an anchor in this endless sea of scrolling or passing faces.
It totally recontextualizes the baseline. Like if you wear that safe, basic black dress with a standard beige office pump, the brain just reads it as corporate uniform. You blend in.
You're invisible, basically.
Exactly. But you take that exact same dress, you don't change the dress at all, and you pair it with a vibrant crimson stiletto featuring this sharp, asymmetrical toe box. Suddenly, the brain reads the dress not as a uniform, but as a deliberately curated canvas.
Yes, that is the magic of localized expression. You are utilizing the reliable, comfortable foundations you already own. You don't have to overhaul the infrastructure of your closet at all.
Which saves so much money, by the way.
So much money and time. You simply change the accessory. It's a really economical approach to high fashion, treating the shoe as the active variable while the clothes remain the control.
Okay, so if the shoe is the active visual variable, how do we build the framework around it without causing just total aesthetic chaos?
That is the tricky part, isn't it?
It is, and the Apparelizer Guide outlines 4 specific rules for shoe-first styling. But reading between the lines, it's really a masterclass in managing visual weight.
Oh, absolutely.
So the first directive is to keep the outfit simple, relying heavily on neutrals, black dresses, beige jumpsuits, things like that.
Think about the physics of human perception for a second. The human eye acts a bit like gravity, right? It naturally wants to travel downward to the floor.
Okay?
When you wear a single column of color, let's say an all-white trouser and a top combination, you remove all the horizontal visual interruptions.
Well, there's no chunky belt breaking it up in the middle.
Exactly. There is no contrasting belt or sudden pattern change on the shirt to arrest the gaze. So the eye just accelerates down that unbroken line of the body and lands squarely on the statement piece at the bottom. It gives the footwear maximum visual impact.
That makes me think of a high-end museum exhibit.
How so?
Well, the neutral outfit is the blank gallery wall.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't paint a gallery wall with some chaotic, colorful mural if you want people to focus on the intricate sculpture in the center of the room.
No, you definitely weren't. The wall has to recede.
Right. But having a blank wall is totally useless if you hide the sculpture behind a curtain. And that's where the guide's rule about hemlines becomes super critical.
Yes, the hemline is everything.
They explicitly recommend cropped pants, midi skirts, ankle-length jeans, and dresses with high slits. They say to avoid overly long garments at all costs.
You have to expose the real estate. This is all about structural framing.
Yeah.
Because an overly long, pooling hemline that just swallows up a highly structural neon shoe, it creates visual confusion.
Like you see a flash of color, but you don't really know what's going on down there.
Exactly. The observer can't process the silhouette of the shoe. By lifting the hemline to the ankle or the mid-calf, you are creating a deliberate negative space between the garment and the shoe.
Negative space.
Right. That gap of skin acts as the spotlight. It cleanly separates the canvas from the art piece.
Which feeds directly into their next rule about managing visual frequency, or what the guide calls using accessories sparingly.
Yes, less is more here.
Definitely. If your baseline is that crazy, crystal-embellished stiletto, throwing on a massive chandelier earring and a heavily studded handbag on top of that just creates all these competing focal points.
It generates visual anxiety rather than visual harmony. When multiple bold items are demanding attention simultaneously, the observer's eye just darts frantically between them.
It is exhausting to look at.
It really is. By opting for minimal jewelry, maybe a classic handbag with clean lines and simple outerwear, you eliminate all that static. You allow the shoe to command the attention naturally without having to fight your necklace for dominance.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because I actually have to push back a little bit on the guide's second rule.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah, their rule regarding color coordination. So the text advises picking one color from your statement heel and subtly incorporating it elsewhere in the outfit.
Right, the color echoing technique.
Yeah, but their examples include pairing a hot pink heel with a pink handbag, or like a metallic shoe with silver jewelry. Doesn't perfectly matching a pink heel to a pink handbag run the risk of looking entirely too calculated?
Like you tried too hard.
Yeah. It feels a little reminiscent of those prepackaged matching sets from a 1990s catalog.
Yeah.
Just a bit too matchy-matchy.
I completely see where you're coming from. But what's fascinating here is the psychological distinction between creating a uniform and creating cohesion.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, nobody wants to look like a mannequin bought straight off a department store floor. However, the psychological effect of subtle echoing is incredibly powerful. Imagine wearing a wildly bold, hot pink sculptural heel with an austere all-black outfit.
Very striking.
It is, but without any other context, the shoe can appear disconnected. It looks like a glitch in the matrix. It almost looks as though the footwear actually belongs to a different person entirely.
Like you accidentally step into someone else's shoes on the way out the door.
Precisely the issue. It looks accidental. But by leaving a subtle breadcrumb of that color elsewhere, perhaps a very small pink clutch or even just a deliberate pink undertone in your makeup, you construct a visual bridge.
A visual bridge. I like that.
It communicates to the observer, this was an intentional, controlled choice. It provides visual anchoring. The observer subconsciously recognizes the pattern, which makes the bold choice feel grounded rather than chaotic.
Okay. So it isn't about being perfectly matched. It's about planting just enough visual evidence so the outfit makes logical sense to the brain.
Exactly. It shows intent.
Okay, so we have the architectural framework down. We've got the neutral gallery wall, the hemline spotlight, the elimination of visual noise, and the subtle color bridge.
The foundational rules.
Right. But context is everything. Like, A neon yellow architectural wedge might totally dominate a social media feed, but wearing it into a conservative Tuesday morning strategy meeting kind of changes the narrative, wouldn't you say?
Completely. And the source material is highly pragmatic regarding environmental context. Adapting the trend requires understanding what actually constitutes a statement. A statement does not inherently mean neon, loud, or aggressive.
So what does this all mean for the listener who, maybe wants to invest in just one or two incredibly versatile pairs? Like, rather than cultivating an entire closet full of wild footwear, how do you command presence in a professional setting without looking completely out of place?
This raises an important question about the nuance of design. In an office environment, the guide points toward pointed toe pumps, sturdy block heels, neutral metallic finishes, or maybe highly sophisticated color accents.
Okay, so toning it down a bit.
Yes, a classic pointed toe silhouette rendered in a really rich burgundy, or a sensible block heel that's elevated with a subtle tortoiseshell pattern.
Those are profound statements.
Really, just tortoiseshell.
Absolutely. They maintain absolute professional polish while still elevating the foundational neutral outfit. It shows you care about details without screaming for attention.
Got it. So it is a statement of refinement rather than a demand for attention.
Exactly.
But then when the context shifts to an evening event, the mechanics totally change again. Because formal occasions are basically the playground for glamour. Oh, that's where you pull out all the stops.
Right. That is where the crystal heels, the satin finishes, and the gold stilettos come into play. You are no longer constrained by daytime utility.
And we also have to look at the casual applications, which is honestly where I think the styling technique is the most transformative.
Oh, for everyday wear.
Yeah.
Hmm.
For a casual day out, the guide highlights patterned mules, fashion-forward wedges, or colorful block heels. Take the most ubiquitous casual uniform well-fitting denim and a crisp white t-shirt.
A classic.
It is. But by simply introducing a heavily patterned mule to that classic outfit, you immediately signal high fashion literacy. It suddenly becomes a heavily styled look that required virtually zero additional morning effort.
It really does feel like a stylistic cheat code. Just swap the shoe and you're done.
Exactly.
And beyond just the occasion, the guide really emphasizes how seasonality dictates the mechanics of the statement. Like, we all know spring and summer usher in the pastels, the open toes, and the lighter materials. But the transition into fall and winter is where the textures get incredibly complex.
Winter styling relies so heavily on tactile luxury rather than vibrant color palettes. The guide specifically highlights velvet finishes, metallic tones, and rich jewel colors, like deep emeralds or sapphires.
They feel heavier somehow.
They do. And consider how different materials interact with light. Patent leather reflects light, which creates a very sharp, energetic visual. But velvet, on the other hand, absorbs light.
Oh, I see. And that absorption creates a much denser visual anchor at the base of the outfit.
Exactly.
Which is so important. Because if you are wearing a really heavy, chunky wool coat in December, a flimsy, strappy sandal fails entirely. It just lacks the visual weight to counterbalance the heavy outerwear. It looks like you're going to tip over.
Right, the proportions are all wrong.
Yeah.
But a dense, dark velvet block heel anchors that heavy coat perfectly. It provides the necessary proportional balance.
That makes total sense.
And by rotating these anchor pieces, moving from light reflective materials in the spring to dense light-absorbing textures in the winter, you maintain a dynamic modern wardrobe year-round, and you never even have to replace your core neutral garments.
Okay, so we've established the visual architecture and the seasonal context. But the Apparelizer guide dives into something much deeper in its final sections, which I've found fascinating.
Oh, the psychological aspects.
Yes, it addresses the actual physical and psychological experience of wearing the shoes. Because there is a distinct psychology to the stride. And there are mechanical pitfalls that can completely shatter this beautiful illusion you've just built.
The concept of enclosed cognition is so critical here.
Enclosed cognition.
Yes, it's this psychological phenomenon where the clothes you wear directly influence your psychological processes. The guide highlights that statement heels naturally enforce better posture.
Really? Just by putting them on?
Think about it. When you change your physical center of gravity by elevating the heel, your biomechanics have to shift. You physically must align your spine and push your shoulders back just to maintain your balance.
Oh, wow. So it basically forces you to take up more vertical space.
Exactly.
And it physically opens up the diaphragm, which, if you think about it, improves vocal projection.